welcome to another Fine Vine Wines podcast. This is the third, but actually it's the fourth. I recorded one last week and I was really pleased with it, but I didn't do it very well. So I scrapped the whole thing in the end, and unfortunately all that stuff is now gone. I wish I could have used it. But so today we're going to have a look at this Chinon, which I posted about earlier this week. I was going to save this for next week, but something about it this week just made me think I've got to have it. I've got to have a little taste of it, share it, and I'm going to try and recap a little bit of what I was going to chat about last week, but I don't want to overgo on about it because I'm now past it. So when you get past, because last week I was talking about how I'd had quite a few panic attacks, and they weren't any fun. So I chatted about that and how I was dealing with it, and why I hadn't posted so much, because when I have panic attacks I don't tend to have a drink. And so now I don't really want to overgo on about it, because once I finally get past it, well, I quite like that moment. So I'm just going to... Oh, what a beautiful sound. So. I'm going to let that air for a minute. Yeah, just give that a moment to air. It's a red wine. I mean, really, I should have opened it before I did this, but I wanted the sound on the camera. What can we say about Chinon? Well, first off, where is Chinon? And again, so like I do this. Chinon is one of those things where French people, they name their wines after their areas, and for them that's really important. It was certainly a Burgundian thing. Like every area in Burgundy has its own attributes. And it's the same all across France. They say, oh, it's this area, and that should tell you about the wine, as opposed to Australia, New Zealand, America, and they plaster the grape on the front of it, so you go, oh yeah, Chardonnay, oh yes, Sauvignon Blanc. With French wines, they just give you the area, and you're expected to understand what that area represents and brings with its wine. So what is a Chinon? Well, a Chinon is from an area in Loire, middle Loire, central Loire. So you go middle, central. So it's central because it's in the Touraine area. So Touraine is a city. So if you're looking at the coast, the Loire goes Nantes, and then you've got like Angers, Touraine, Orléans, and then it comes down the sort of mountains, down the centre of France. And so this area, it's got the River Loire, and there's like two types of soil in Chinon. So there's the one type, sandy, gravelly sort of soils down by the river, and then further up the slopes you've got this tuffeau, it's this chalk, and I think it's like gravel and something else. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but it's very good for their white wines. Chalk is always good for white wine. But you get two different types of wine off the different chalk. So with the red wines at the bottom of the slopes, you get these very fruit forward wines, and then the further up the slope you go, and you get into those tuffeau soils, and then obviously on a slope, so it's getting all that sunlight hitting the grapes and hitting the leaves, so you're getting great photosynthesis, you're getting great ripening of the grapes. You get a sort of much more concentrated, more elegant style, and it moves on from just having fruit flavours to sort of graphite-y, sort of pencil-leady smells. In fact, actually it's really common. I almost go as far as to say, so the grape is Cabernet Franc. It's like Chinon is Cabernet Franc with a little bit of Cabernet Sauvignon. What is Cabernet Franc? Well, it's one of the most important grapes there is, basically, because it's the father of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is the biggest grape in the world, or it could be the mother, depends which way you look at it, depends on your bias. And so as you go up the slopes, you can get these graphite sort of flavours, which for me is almost like, how would I put it? I would say it's like burnt clutch or burnt brake sort of smell. Really interesting. And then you get your strawberry and cranberry flavours, and then on top of that you can get tea tree kind of smells, sort of mentally sort of notes. All really interesting. Let's have a little... So hang on a second, let's really get in there. Yeah, so This is a higher end one, you can tell immediately, because that pencil lead smell is so strong. These wines can live for several years. They're really well lived wines, but the pencil lead, and yeah. Okay, so the first smell is pencil lead, and then you've got this sort of almost deeper, richer berry flavour. So it should be sort of strawberries and cranberries, but it's almost going a little bit darker than that. And then on top of that, you've got this sort of tree mossy, almost bark. It's like bark. Sorry, let's swirl that properly, really get those flavours going. Okay, so the pencil lead sort of is almost like your in my opinion, as you smell the aromas, it's almost like the line on which everything else supports itself. There's almost like Ribena is the wrong word, but like a very thick liquid, like a thick berry flavour, almost like it's been concentrated. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's a really concentrated, yeah, very, very concentrated raspberry, strawberry flavours. And then on top of that, you're getting kind of a tobacco-y smell. Yeah, definitely. So tobacco on top of that, and the graphite flavour, the graphite aroma. It sort of dances between the two. I would say almost a little bit of menthol in there. It's like dances between tobacco and menthol. Really, really nice wine. This would definitely, by its aroma, I'd say, yeah, it's a very good wine. Right, let's give it a little try. That's fantastic. So fruit flavours are all there. All there. Big, punchy. Tannins are lovely. So it's not too tannic. So Cabernet Franc is always a moderate tannin sort of wine. So the grip on the mouth is lovely. It fills the cheeks. You get it right across the gums of your mouth. Really holds you there. Lovely acidity. The flavour carries all the way through. Then that pencil lead. So you're thinking, oh no, is it going to taste like brake dust if you smell brake dust or you smell? No, it just plays with you all the way through, and then you get this big strawberry sort of flavour that fills your mouth. Very, very nice. And then let's go back again. Let's give it another whirl. Yeah. Okay. And so for me, not just that, the scent of the tree moss translates into a really lovely kind of, almost like the texture of tree moss. That's a lovely textured wine. That's a fantastic wine. Really, really spectacular. I recommend anyone, if you've never had a Chinon, get one. It will really open up your eyes to what is out there in terms of red wine. And you may love it, you may hate it. I think they're fantastic. And most wine drinkers think they're fantastic. But there's this lovely sort of, I'll tell you what it's like, you know when you see you know those old moving boxes, they were tea boxes. Yes, there it is. It's exactly what it's like. It's like the smell of an old tea box. Those big tea boxes that you used to grab to move your stuff in. Like there's the aroma of that, and that translates beautifully on the palate. You get this wonderful strawberry, and then it's almost like tea box flavour. Perhaps a touch of licorice in there. Definitely a sort of tobacco-y odour. Translates into a really lovely flavour. Yeah, that's a really, really good wine. So, recommendation, Chinon. You should always have a look. But there's lots of things to consider with Chinon. If you buy a cheaper Chinon, it's just going to be a big fruit flavoured wine. It's based on where it's grown, type of soil, amount of sun exposure. As you go further up the hill, it's going to get a little bit pricier. But it's worth spending the extra few pounds just to really experience what a Chinon is about. Other areas you can look at for something similar is Bourgueil, spelled a bit funny. I think it's Bourgueil. That would be similar to a Chinon like that. And then you've got Saint-Nicolas de Bourgueil, and that's like a cheaper Chinon down the bottom of the slope. So Bourgueil up the slope, Saint-Nicolas de Bourgueil down the bottom, and they'll be similar to your Chinon. Very, very, very much worth a little exploration. In fact, the Loire Valley is completely worth your time, and actually you could spend months, years probably, but months just going through different wines. So you can start down by the coast, and you've got your Muscadet. Muscadet, if you're buying fish, you should be looking at Muscadet for a wine. So if you're buying shellfish, seafood, full stop, and you want something bright and lemony and zesty, look at a Muscadet. Look at a Muscadet Sèvres-Goëmon. That's their biggest area. It's the most likely area that you're going to get a Muscadet from. But within that, there's 3 separate names, and they are a little bit pricier, but oh, they're so much better. Clisson, Gorge, and Palais. Palette, it's spelled. Clisson, and so they basically have much longer aging rules. So they have these much richer, rounder flavours, fantastic wines. Definitely worth having a look at. Then as you come further up and you get to, there's the town of Angers, and around Angers you've got lots of Crémant, so lots of Cabernet Franc, so that's what this is, Cabernet Franc, lots of Cabernet Franc, lots of Chenin Blanc, Chenin Blanc sparkling, Chenin Blanc sweet, and dry Chenin Blanc. And if you really want to have a wine that you don't normally pick up in a shelf, but is as good, better than what you pick up in a supermarket shelf, if you're a white wine drinker, find out what the Chenin Blancs of the Loire are like, because they are spectacular. Cabernet Franc, spectacular, really nice. So like Bordeaux, you get these big, deep, very subtle wines, but they're big in their colouring, in their tannins. And then if you go up to Burgundy, you get these very light wines, very sort of translucent wines, because Pinot Noirs are much paler grape, or the skins are, and they produce these much less fleshy wines. And Cabernet Franc sits in the middle. It's medium in colour, very much medium in colour. However, this one is very tannic, I would say. Yeah, and very high up. Look, is the alcohol? I would say that's quite high. Oh no, it's on the top of the medium. It's 13.5. Oh, that's so good. That's really good. So if you're looking for this is a Chinon, and it's by a gentleman called Coulet-Duthé. I presume that's the pronunciation. Couly, little dash thing, Dutheil. That is 100% worth a visit. It got the Médaille d'Argent from Paris 2019. I don't know how easy it is to win that or not. So yeah, I would definitely look into that. And then as you come further up, so you've got Turin, Turin is this area around the city of Tours, and Tours produces these, produces all sorts basically. Again, similar to Anjou, lots of Cabernet Franc, lots of Chenin Blanc, well worth a look. And then as you come up and round to sort of Orléans, you've got areas like Sancerre, which people are very, very familiar with. Quincy, that's a very interesting area. And then what's the other one? Puy-Fumé. Yeah, Puy-Fumé again, also known for its Sauvignon Blanc. And so you've got this huge, diverse area, all considered the Loire Valley, and absolutely phenomenally beautiful. In England, our Garden of England is Kent. Well, the Loire Valley in France is the Garden of, it's called Le Jardin de la Loire de France, or something like that. Le Jardin de France. the Garden of the Loire in France, or something like that. But really, really worth exploration. And not every wine is going to be great. Now, you can go to any area. I mean, and so just an interesting point to look at would be Bordeaux. Bordeaux is the most up and down area in wine. Like, one year could be the most mind-blowing year of all time, and the next year could be absolute dross. I think it was 2013 was like the worst year. I'm pretty sure it was 2013. 2013 might have been one of the worst years ever. 2017, not a great year. However, Rhone is a bit similar to that. They're normally fantastic, like a real fantastic year, but then when they have it bad, it's horrifically bad. They can get some like crazy weather years, and it just blows their year apart. But consistently, Rhone is fairly high. The Loire, well, they just produce good. I mean, they're sweet wines consistently, year after year. They're up there as some of the best sweet wines in the world, and their Crémant, which is Chenin Blanc, fantastic. And you when you're out there, you pay less than £10 for their Crémant. I would 100% recommend looking at their Crémant. So going forward from here, how are we all doing in the old lockdown? It's such a weird thing, isn't it, to be in lockdown? So, like, for example, my wife, she's a nurse, so she's working, well, next week she's working 5 days. She works so many hours, it's ridiculous. She's a little hero. But I think there's loads of people that need to be sort of looked at. Supermarket workers, amazing. Delivery drivers, amazing. NHS or wherever country you're from, your hospital workers, amazing. Bin collectors, amazing. You think of the trouble we'd be in without bin collectors. I mean, whew, think about all that horrible muck that we need to get rid of. And 4 weeks without bin collectors, we'd be at the doctors with diseases no end. That hospital would be overloaded. So celebrate the bin collectors. Everyone who's still working, really, who has to. Amazing. If you're listening in and you are still working, just well done. Nicely done. But yeah, odd time. I'm thinking that each project that I have to set myself projects, otherwise I'd get nowhere. I think we've all like done that where some of my friends, for example, they stay up till like 2, 3 in the morning, and then they get up at like 10, 11 in the morning, and they've lost their structure. And I can see why, because, well, the world hasn't got any structure at the moment. But equally, we provide our own structure. And I sort of think this is where wine is great. Wine, it can make you lose everything. Now, you can just sit there and lose an evening to wine. But you don't have to, I don't think. Like, some of the best conversations I've ever had has been opening a really nice bottle of wine. And a really nice bottle of wine forces you to talk. Like, if you open a bottle of £5, £6 bottle of wine in a supermarket, you will never talk about that wine. You won't go, oh, that's a lovely wine. And even if you do get that sentence out of your mouth, that's as far as it goes. Whereas, you buy a slightly more expensive wine, you might not even like it. It'll force you to have a conversation about why you don't like. I can't believe I spent that much money. That was disgusting. You know, I spent £12 on that, and that was awful. Or you might spend £12 and go, wow, that's so much better than what I normally pay £5 for. And this one, I think I paid approximately 15 quid, something like that. And I think what you pay, you get so much more than a cheaper red wine. I don't think you could buy a £5, £6 red wine that would compare to this. Not in terms of aroma, in terms of mouthfeel, taste. And just how because I'm not going to drink this on my own. I'm going to finish the rest off with my wife after this is done, and we'll have a lovely conversation over it, and maybe a nice meal. Like, I've got some steak for later, and that's the thing with this wine. So if you buy a sort of more fruity wine, well, put that with grilled meats, easy. But one of these you can actually work with. Mushroom sauces are really hard to pair with wine. So if you like your mushroom sauce, it's actually very difficult to put a wine with mushroom sauce, and you need quite a bit of salt with those mushrooms just to make it work. Salt great thing to put with food, with wine. But mushrooms are a really, really difficult food type because they are what is called, in the 5 flavour senses, they're umami. Really difficult to explain, but savoury might be the best way to put it. It's a Japanese term. And so a little bit of salt on those mushrooms takes it from umami to a salt type of food. And then it's easier to pair it. But you could put that with a mushroom sauce, mushroom steak perhaps. And this wine can handle a steak. Steaks are really fatty, and there's enough acidity in this wine to cut through that acidity. Other wines that you like, you can definitely pair with steak. Anything that's big. So steaks are one of those big foods that sort of fills your mouth, fatty. So you need something big, but also high acidity, just to cut through that that fat. Anything that's low acid, anything that doesn't, you need to feel the acidity sort of like straight, in a linear way, straight through your mouth. When you get that, it means you can pair that wine with something that's very, very fatty. That's why Chianti is great for fatty foods like cheeses, very high acid. And that's why Burgundy Reds, very, very good with fatty foods. See, Pinot Noir is one of those, Pinot Noir is the most versatile grape of them all, and it's also the trickiest and the most expensive. Fantastic grape. And this is why I really like Cabernet Franc. I think it provides like a middleman somewhere between your Cabernet Sauvignons and your Pinot Noirs, as I said earlier. And it enables you to sort of have a little bit more diversity like your Pinot Noir, but it also gives you a little bit more richness like a Bordeaux. And so I just think Cabernet Franc is a fantastic middleman grape. And I think it's a real drinker's grape, as in a wine drinker's grape. I think it's like Riesling amongst white grapes. It's quite a magical grape. You can get it also in lots of different countries. And the New World Cab Franc, a lot bolder. Old World Cab Franc will be a little bit more restrained. I've had some very good Argentinian crab francs. Cab francs. I've had some very good Argentinian cab francs. And Italy as well, they produce some really good cab francs. They're not known for it. It's not one of their big boy Italian grapes, because the Italians, of course, love to go on about their Italian grapes. But they do a really good cab franc. And they actually do some of the best Bordeaux blends in the world. They're really, really very good at it. So what's the plan? Well, I think next week I'm going to try and do another one of these. I think I'm going to try and go red wine, white wine, sparkling wine, perhaps sweet wine, rosé, and keep going round and round in circles through that. Talk about wines, what you should drink them with, what you should pair them with, and also try and keep it to the weather at the time, which is sort of a bit silly really, but like if it's summertime, sometimes a really nice bright, high acid, beautiful flavoured Provence style rosé is perfect. If it's cooler and a bit darker, then it's like a nice full bodied red wine, lovely, or a port. And then if it's celebratory times, nothing beats champagne or a sparkling wine. I've become more and more enamoured with Prosecco recently. Never used to like it. I think there's the stigma of it's not champagne, but the more you learn about it, the more you understand it, the more you realise actually it's fulfilling this amazing little spot that, it's just it's a very clever wine, I think, Prosecco. It's a bit like a Cab Franc. It's a bit like a Cab Franc because there's your cheap end Prosecco and then you got your high end Prosecco, and your high end Prosecco is still cheaper or roughly the same price as a cheap champagne. Really well made wines, lots of flavour, very beautiful wines, very elegant, and made in. When you see the area that Prosecco is made in, you go, oh, what? It's phenomenally gorgeous. If you're watching this or listening to this, I recommend just typing in Prosecco into your search engine and take the images, because it is exquisite. I think pretty sure it's a World Heritage Site. It's fantastic. I want to go back to this wine, see what I'm picking up now. Yeah. So when I said back at the start that, the wine has these odours of pencil lead, that's now simmered right down, and there's almost like a sort of a stewed fruit sort of note coming through, which I didn't pick up earlier because it was dominated by the graphite smell, so it just needed a bit of time to air. Yeah, now that graphite note has toned itself down. Definitely the stewed fruit flavours, and it's almost like the strawberries have been spiced, like a spiced jam. That's what it is. It's like a toned down jam, not that sweetness, and like a little bit of cinnamon maybe. Cinnamon's the wrong. Cinnamon's wrong. Let me think about this. It's not pepper, but it's a spiced strawberry flavour. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, and a sort of foresty, wet, like a undergrowth flavour. Definitely. That is a fantastic wine. If I could recommend any one wine to somebody, there's loads. There's loads. But at the moment, if I could recommend one region of exploration for wines, the Loire Valley. It's just got so much going for it. And I really, 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 really recommend trying their sparkling wines. Their sparkling wines have this well-priced, excellent amount of flavour, excellent. Everything about their sparkling wines is done so well. They really are like artisans in terms of wine, but they don't come with all the pomp of other French regions like Burgundy, Bordeaux, and within the Rhone you've got Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and all of these places come with this sort of pomp and ceremony, and look at us with this. And in England, the Loire Valley is sort of a bit of a missed opportunity, I think. So I recommend, have a look. If there's something that you particularly like, if there's a particular style of wine, like if you like a really bright, zesty white wine, Loire's got it. If you like a rich red wine, Loire's got it. If you like something a little lighter, Loire's got it. If you like something for fish, Loire's got it. So give it a good look, and just phenomenal. And they've got phenomenal castles. Next week, going to try a white wine. I really want to get a white wine, and actually I want to get a white wine that I can pair really well with prawns. I bought today for the freezer these huge Argentinian prawns. I had a few earlier and they are phenomenal. And so I think next week when I do it, I'm going to have some prawns out and pair a nice wine with it. So I'll pick a wine. I'll pick a wine for that in the meantime. Outside of that, just the last couple of minutes before I end this. If you're buying wine, try and avoid supermarkets. I know that sounds pretentious. 2 supermarkets in the UK, three supermarkets, I think provide some value in their wines. First, Waitrose has the best selection. Co-op, best value, and M&S have a really good selection as well. But outside of those 3, if you really want to try things in life, avoid Sainsbury's, Tesco, Asda, Morrison's. I haven't done enough exploration of Morrison's, but because I've been there a few times, but none of them really seem to be hitting the mark. Other than the 3 I'd say, go to your local wine shop. I can guarantee you, even in lockdown, they're probably open and doing deliveries. Do it. Go find out, because they will have such a better selection. And you may think, oh, I've got to pay a little bit extra. Yes, you have. And the reason you've got to pay a little bit extra is because there's a farmer at the other end who's making 20 pence off your bottle of wine, because you're paying £5, and it's killing him. It is literally forcing him to not be able to earn money, because he can't compete with the big boys, and yet he might be producing a wonderful product. So his bottle might be worth 12, 15 quid, and he's having to price it at 8 and 9, and you're getting a steal at £8 or £9. So go and have a look, because some of these wines are phenomenal. And a lot of wines now, really big promotion of Argentinian wine in the country. Definitely go and have a look at that. Try and get a Loire one. If you're looking for an alternative to champagne, there'll generally be Cremant in a local wine store. They'll probably have Cremant de Jura. Phenomenal wines. Can't recommend them enough. And Cremant d'Alsace, Cremant de Burgundy or Bourgogne, Cremant de Loire. So many good sparkling wines out there. Go and explore, go and try. You won't be let down. And even if you are, it makes a conversation. And not every wine can be good. But what you are definitely getting in a supermarket is just this bland, mediocre wine that you shouldn't be drinking. So that's my tip. One last thing. Lidl's not too bad. Lidl isn't too bad. I actually really enjoyed a couple of £6 bottles of wine from Lidl recently. Yeah, you feel free to go to Lidl. But any of the others, you're banned. Anyway, stay safe, and I'll see you next week.